So now we're gonna focus on what happened at the board. After your opponent shows up, you shake hands and start filling your score sheet. It looks like this. You can actually do it before the game starts, but basically we can put the date. We can put August the 20th, 2017. We can put the name of the tournament. Let's say World Open 2017. Then the name of the players. White players is gonna be Miguel. And then the black player is gonna be, let's play against Nakamura. Nakamura. Some players, they write down the player's rating. Is up to you. It's not required, but this is the basic information. What is important here is that you see that I'm using a pen. Taking notation is very important because if something happened later in the game, the tournament director is gonna look at your notation. And if you use pencil, not good. It's better to use a pen. So if we're in a tournament game, the first thing, let's put this clock back. If I'm white, I have to wait for black to hit the clock. After black hits the clock, I will make a move on the board and then record that move. I should record the move, and also I can record the time. I will be like 50. Then black will play a move and stop the clock. So before I play my move, I will record his move. Pawn to e5, and he's very fast. He was able to move during the delay. And that's how it should be, move after move. You can record the move, the time, and any draw offer from your opponent. You can write down D. Any other things that you write down on your score sheet can get you into trouble, because your opponent can say that you are taking or making notes. So don't do that. Some people try to encourage, make like this positive message, write things that are positive on their score sheets, and that's not good, and that's illegal. So now let's get to a very sensitive issue in chess. When it's your first tournament, you are very nervous. Let's say that I'm white and I'm nervous and I touch my king without saying anything. If it's my move, black can force me to move my king. So in this case, I will have to play the only legal move that I can play in this position, that is king to e2. That happened many, many times. I see this as a tournament director and also as a player. Sometimes you're playing against people that they say they don't call you on that one, but chances are much as player will do. So before you touch any piece, let's say that your king is like this, and you want to move it to the right place. Before you do that, you have to say adjust. You say adjust, and then you move the piece to the square, right? Now, let's say play here. It goes out. Goes here. Bishop goes out. Let's say bishop goes out. And is it time for black to castle? The right order to touch the pieces is you grab the king first, and then the rook. If you grab the rook first, your opponent may force you to move the rook, and then you ended up in a position like this. And then you cannot castle. So remember, grab your king first, then the rook, That's castle. Now let's say that your opponent touched a piece. Like, let's say, for example, is in this position, white play, let's see, play this move. Then black plays something like this. And he goes here. And you are just making moves. And he goes maybe like this. Take, right? So you have to be, white has, I have two pieces under attack, and I panic because I forgot that tactic. And then I touch my rook, but then I realize that my queen is in danger, and when I try to correct that mistake, my opponent will call that, we call touch move. That means if I touch my rook, I have to move it. So I move the rook, and he will win my queen. So now let's take a look at a different example. Let's say that we have a similar position. This is a position like this, right? My king is castle, is black to move. And he touches, he grabs this pawn. But later he changed his mind because he realized that if he captured with the knight or with the rook, I will get in two minor pieces for my rook and a pawn. And in most middle games, that's a good deal for the person that keeps the two pieces. Maybe he tried to do now something like this, but then you can call touch take. It means like if he touches your piece and he has a piece that can make a legal move, a legal capture, he has to do it. So here he can take either with the knight or he can take either with the bishop, and both moves are legal. Right, takes. If white have the same scenario, touches the pawn, well, the only piece that can capture that pawn is the knight, so has to take the pawn. Now we're gonna take a look at the draw offers. When it's your first game, some people get very nervous, and even if they won a pawn or two pawns, and they just want to score the game, not lose the game, they may ask for a draw. So let's keep making a move. After move, we're gonna be just playing again. For some players, before you ask for a draw, you should play at least maybe 10, 20 moves. In this case, the position is very, it's equal. And some players that they don't want to play any longer, they can offer a draw. This position is equal and it's okay. But if for some reason, keep playing, in this situation, white is down a pawn. Now, offering your opponent a draw this early in the game, where you are down material, is impolite. Why? Because you are down a pawn and you are offering a draw. It means like you are telling him, look, I am so good so good, or you don't gonna be able to beat me from this position even if I'm a pawn down, right? So don't offer draws if you are down material. If you are down a piece or down a pawn, you may do that when you are at the club, but in a tournament game, that's impolite, so don't do it. What you can do is, if you're down a pawn, but your opponent is very low on time, let's say he has like a minute and the position, and you have more time and the position is complicated, it's okay to offer, draw. You have an advantage on the clock that may balance the material deficiency. In what other case can you ask for your opponent for a draw? You can ask your opponent for a draw after you reach a position that may be too complicated and you two don't have enough time on the clock. That's okay to ask for a draw. So at that point, you say, this position, you're basically telling your opponent the position is complicated, we don't have enough time to figure it out, let's call this a draw. So, and that's a good way to offer a draw. Well, now let's talk about incidents that require the tournament director to intervene. It doesn't happen that often in tournaments, but it happens, and that's the reason because we have tournament directors. The first situation that I want to talk to you about is when somebody called touch move and there are no witnesses. For example, you're playing your game here, and then your opponent touches the king, he doesn't say adjust, and you call touch move and he say, I don't move, no, I didn't touch my king. You say, yes, you did. Then you call the tournament director. And at that point, if there are no weaknesses, your opponent may get away with touching the piece, the king, and don't have to move it. You don't really have to get upset about it. That happens. You expect everybody to, have good sportsmanship and knowledge. If he touched the king, he should move it. But if that's not the case, you shouldn't get frustrated or angry. It's one of those situations that just happens, and then keep playing your best, keep playing chess. If for some reason the incident cannot be resolved, try to keep it quiet. Don't start arguing with your opponent. If the tournament director is not around, just first thing that you need to do, very important, just stop the clock. You see, if this clock is running, the first thing that I should do is stop my clock, and then you see the time is not running, and then look for the tournament director. If you do the opposite, if you go to look for the tournament director and your clock is still running, and turns out that when you find the tournament director, you are out of time, you run out of time, you lose. So very important, just before anything, just stop the clock. Now, if you look at the clock, in this moment, I have only 3 minutes and 27 seconds. In a tournament game, if you are under 5 minutes, you are not required to keep taking notation. You just stop taking notation, and if you want to figure out later how many moves you play, you can just do something like this to fill the blanks. But if your opponent has more time on the clock, he's supposed to be taking notation. So you are playing without taking notation, but if your opponent has more time, he should record his moves as normal. Sometimes a player that has more time, 10, 20 minutes, is playing against somebody that have 3-4 minutes. They stop taking notation and try to blitz out their opponent. So you can ask your opponent to take notation. Now we're gonna move to the practical side of chess. Sometimes you are in not a good position and you have to fight for a draw. As we say, a tournament, you can say one of your goals for a tournament can be, I don't want to lose any game. And that's perfect valid. So now let's take a look at a position where white may be in some sort of trouble. So in this position, white is actually 2 pawns down. He's very low on time too. And we need to figure out a way to save this game. White king is here. You have a bishop here. You have a black knight defending that pawn. So, if it's white to move, how you can save this game? So, in this position, on similar positions, the easiest way is to take away or eliminate the last pawns. Even in this position, let's say that black has an extra knight. Let's give him an extra knight here. So to draw this game, easiest thing to do is take the pawn, knight recapture with check, then you capture, and the remaining endgame is a theoretical draw, because usually 2 knights versus king are not enough to win a game. So that's an option that you have. The other option that you have is to reach an endgame. Let's say that white has a bishop. In this case, your opponent has enough material to checkmate you. But the chance that you have as white here is to complete 50 moves without any capture or pawn push, and then you can claim a draw. So right after white takes the last pawn, black has to checkmate white in 50 moves. And that's the reason, because it's very important for you to take notation. After, deep into the end game, I play, say, move 50. I say king takes h5. And from this move on, I count 50 moves to claim my draw. But I need to keep taking a complete score sheet to claim the draw. Now let's take a look at a more elaborate example. Let's say, let's take for example this position. King is here. We have black queen right here. So we see that the white king is in a stalemate position, right? So something that you can do, for example, if your last piece is, let's say something like, let's say this, let's make it more. Your last piece is, let's say is maybe a bishop or a rook, queen. So I'm making this over the board. Say if you have a queen here, and black has say he has something here like a pawn. trying to construct checkmate position for white. Yeah, black king will be checkmate here. So what we can do is to add this rook here. We can put black rook here. So it will be something like this. In this position, black is threatening checkmate here. So white plays this move, check. And if black captures the rook, the king will be stalemate, and you get a draw. If black doesn't capture the rook and moves away, then white can create what we call a fortress. He removed his rook from danger, and now the black queen and the king cannot break this position. Like, for example, if the queen goes here, goes up, goes here, goes here. If the king tries to penetrate, then check, and the king is forced out. So building a fortress is also a good way for you to escape with a draw from a complicated position. In later videos, we're gonna be taking a closer look to fortresses, how to build them and how to break them. So with that being said, this is gonna be the end of this second section of our video. Thank you.